I want to start by welcoming the Housing for All plan, and I believe it is a plan and a document that recognises the scale of the housing crisis that exists in this country at present. One of the reasons why I welcome the document as well is that it recognises that this is not just a housing issue. It recognises that it's a societal issue. And that is something that I think we need to recognise in this House, and I believe that the Government is coming to recognise with the publication of this document. You know, since independence in Ireland, there's been a social contract that has existed between the citizen and between the state. And one of the clauses of that social contract was that if you work hard and you get a good job, you'll be able to own a house of your own. You'll be able to buy a house. And as we know in this country, good jobs were not always available, Cathaoirleach, but certainly from the second half of the last century, many good jobs did become available. And people who worked in private business or people who worked in the public sector, the vast majority of them with jobs were able to say that they'd be able to buy and own their own houses. Obviously, it was always the case as well that there were some people who weren't able to buy their own houses, and that's why it was so important for the state to step in and build local authority houses, and houses were available for people to rent and for people to live in long-term with security from local authority. However, it is the case now in respect to the social contract that new young people face a terrifying prospect. They now can find themselves in a situation where they have good jobs, where they earn very good money, but they have no prospect of ever being able to buy a home of their own. They are becoming involuntary, lifelong renters. I think we need to recognise that this is not a transient issue. Sometimes there are issues that we debate in this House and we can say fairly that, listen, if we leave this for a number of years, it will resolve itself. Not the case with the housing crisis that the country now faces. Let's be clear about it. This crisis is an existential threat to the social contract that I described earlier, and if it is not addressed, the problem is going to get significantly worse. We have to be careful that we do not allow our society to be divided into two different groups of those who are property owners and those who are not property owners but who are renters. As well as it having a significant social impact, it will also have a significant political impact. And I know people in this House may think that it will benefit those who are in opposition and damage those who are government. That may be the case. However, my own concern is that the political impact it will have, unless we resolve this crisis, will go far beyond the issues that are addressed in this House, and there will be political consequences that none of us here are aware will occur. We know that part of the benefit of the social contract that exists in this country is that we have social solidarity between different groups. That is extremely important when it comes to dealing with issues such as climate change or COVID, or in terms of trying to rebuild our health service. If we lose that social solidarity, if we lose the terms of that social contract, we're going to find ourselves in a very difficult position where different groups will not be prepared to agree to terms that we know are for the benefit of us all as a collective. I think we need to recognise that all generations need to make sacrifices in order to resolve this issue. However, I think older generations and those of us who are property owners need to recognise that the people who are really suffering are those younger people who are unable to purchase their own houses, notwithstanding the fact that they have good jobs. Listen, there are three issues that come to mind from Housing for All that I think we need to focus on and which I wish to address in the House today. The first of them is that I think we need to focus public expenditure on availability and affordability of homes. I'm pleased to say that Housing for All contains a range of measures designed to address these issues and indeed other issues. I think we need to implement Housing for All. I know there will be very many criticisms about the fact that this looks like another glossy document. There's much more to it than that. It is a serious plan, but it will be dependent upon implementation by government, and we have to commit ourselves and ensure that it is implemented. I also think the government needs to be flexible, and the Minister needs to be flexible in respect to that implementation, because inevitably there are going to be some parts of the plan that are more effective than others. So I think we need to have the flexibility to re-evaluate what's working well and what's not working well. I also think that we need to recognise that our laws need to change so that it becomes uneconomic for large funds to purchase residential property. In my own constituency, a new site has just been developed. It hasn't gone up for sale. People passed by and asked, oh, how much are the units going for? None of them are for sale. They've already all been purchased. Another site that's about to be developed in Milltown is being promoted in the same way. We need to look at amending our tax laws so that we impose punitive taxes on those funds that seek to buy up new properties that have been developed. Listen, if those funds want to buy their own land and build their own houses and rent them out, they're entitled to do that. But what we cannot allow to operate any further is for these funds to be coming in and buying up properties that young people want and have some capacity to purchase. And if it is the case, and I know sometimes we talk in this House about amending the Constitution to put in a right to housing, but if it is the case that we need to amend our Constitution, let's do it. Let's not be fearful of that. Let's not spend endless amounts of time having different lawyers discussing whether or not our Constitution is flexible enough at present to permit further state intervention. But if we are going to intervene in the Constitution and change it, the way we should be intervening is by stating expressly that the state can intervene to discriminate in favour of first-time purchasers who are trying to buy a property to be their home. And listen, the final action we need to concentrate on, Cathaoirleach, is we need to address the decline in construction skills. That means we need to engage with industry and trade unions. We can't have a situation which arises that when we have a recession, we have an automatic decline in expertise in the construction sector. We need something viable and long-term to ensure that those valuable skills remain. Thanks very much.